Welcome, everyone, to the most exciting episode of the year on Conversational Pace. We have the 2024 end of the year Trail Shoe Award Show. Finn, I heard that you actually kept some of your shoes for this episode.
Not only did I keep some, I kept all, which is a 100% increase over 2023. So I told you I was in my sophomore year of the Brett Hornick School of Shoe Reviewing. And, one of the things that I picked up in my freshman year was keep everything, keep the receipts.
Yep. Happy birthday to Conversational Pace. We just turned 2. Hopefully many more years of shoe reviewing to come. See, naturally, I just assume then that one shoe is winning every single category for you because you were just like, oh crap, this is the only shoe that I have. I guess it's just winning all of them. You said you got a little bit. You've got some multiple category winners.
There are some redundancies, but I'm looking down at the models to throw up when the time is right, and there is some variety.
Got a few. So I counted, and Conversational Pace reviewed 25 different shoes this year. A couple of the reviews were like, you got one, like the La Sportiva Jackal 2 Boa, and I got the non-Boa. You got the Summit Off-Trail TR. I got the regular Off-Trail TR. So we split a couple of those, but all in all, CP saw 25 different shoes this year. I feel like that's like a pretty nice number because we still ran a pretty hefty amount in all of them. I was watching the 2023 episode just to write down what the category winners were for last year. And you were saying that you had one of your best years of running of all time. But when we were talking not too long ago, the number that you spat out to me for 2024 was already like 300 or 400 miles over 2023.
So I'm still, this is year 2 of like the ultimate experiment. And I'm still not sure if Conversational Pace is going to get me mega fit or there's going to be some crazy cliff that I fall off of injury wise. And year 3 is the year of like stress fractures and stuff. But yeah, I ran 3,800 miles this year because again, the calling card of CP is you run the miles in the shoes you're given. You put 100 miles or you try to on those shoes, and promises made, promises kept. We do that here. We actually run in the shoes that we're testing.
And you ran so much in the shoes that you're testing that you actually even freed up like runs where you could run in any shoe you want. Like I didn't quite have that luxury. Like I had to stick to a pretty strict schedule. I think I'm at like 25 or 2,600 miles on the year, which literally every year since like I graduated college, I've been between 2,500 and 3,000 miles. So, and that's just like on accident. So I'm just sticking true to just running the same amount again every year. But it was enough to formulate some good thoughts, definitely create some favorites, some likes, some loves, some gotta have it's. Hope we don't get sued by Cold Stone for that. We've got some categories. I changed the wording on a couple categories for this year just to, I don't know, make things a little bit more like concise and organized. We added a category, added a few questions to the end. With all that being said, before that, I'm pretty sure every single one of these shoes are still available. I will link below to all the category winners in the show notes. So don't look at the show notes until after this episode because spoiler alert. With all that being said, the very first category is the Swiss Army Knife Shoe 2024. What's your shoe, Finn, that you can do most things in?
The Nike Zagama 2. And, a couple things to say here. A lot of it comes down to the midsole for me. You got that Zoom X core, the EVA carrier. We have not seen a pure naked Zoom X foam shoe, I think, since you were saying Tyler Green's use of the Ultrafly Proto back in the 2021 Western States 100. Mm-hmm. And that is because Zoom X is super fragile in isolation. Would still love to try it, though. The carrier scenario, it mutes some of the responsiveness, helps with kind of durability because it stops to some extent that foam from packing out. And the magical result of that, and the reason why I think it's a great Swiss Army Knife shoe, it works at a broader spectrum of paces and also in terrains too. I wore this at the 2024 Cocodona 250. I think if you were like 99% of people at Western States that aren't trying to compete for the top 10, it's a great Western States shoe. I could see using it at UTMB. I think it works across a variety of distances, a variety of race environments, again, depending on your profile. But for me, it all comes down to that midsole experience. And I think that was what sold it for me as the Swiss Army knife.
Guess what my Swiss Army knife was? It was also the Nike Zagama 2. Pretty much every reason you said. It's like a very dynamic.
Yours is clean.
midsole.
Yours is clean. Look at I got all this, like, yours is looking good.
Yeah, I've had a couple pairs and I've kept this one clean, but for all the reasons you mentioned, like the midsole is very dynamic in that it works at a wide variety of paces. The outsole is very good at most things, even smooth on the road. And then the other thing is I love the fit and the materials. Well, we said, it's not a high performance lightweight race upper. It's very comfortable and it does its job, which for the daily training and some of the very, very long races, comfort is king. So Swiss Army knife shoe, if I had to pick one to do everything in, like, dude, I think I'm good call.
Great minds think alike.
I guess so. The Conversational Pace School of Shoe Reviews is okay. If there's ever an end of year episode where we have the same shoe for every single category, we're done. We're done with Conversational Pace.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. One more thing I would say too, and I think I didn't say anything about the upper there, but the varying density mesh for the win, right? Like nobody does it better than Nike.
Yeah, they do such a good job.
But we do want a Matrix Nike one day.
Yeah, full Zoom X Zagama with just a Matrix upper, dude. I bet that shoe would be like 8 or 9 ounces.
Yeah.
All right, we move on to the next category. The Golden Trail (parentheses) and similar races shoe. So previously, this was our sub ultra shoe. That's a huge variety. So I narrowed the column like a little bit. Most of the races that we'd be targeting with the shoe would be most of the races under the Golden Trail or similar difficulty umbrella. Oh, I forgot to say what the 2023 winners were. Well, I'll start now. Last year, your winner for this category was the Hokazinal 2. I had picked the normal Chirac. What have you got this year for the Golden Trail shoe? Ooh.
I've got the Merrell MTL Long Sky 2 Matrix, and I think this probably might be the selection that I get the most flack for in the comment section, but I'm willing to take that flack because I believe in this. This is probably more of a sky running shoe, but you did quotation the and similar races shoe, so I did liberally expand the pool there. A couple things for me. Obviously, a Matrix precision fit upper has that precision sock-like fit, but there is some room, some volume in the toe box for people that want a little bit of give there. At $160, we talked about this in our episode. It's not the cheapest Matrix upward shoe. I think that goes to the Salomon Genesis, but I think it's the cheapest performance-oriented Matrix upward shoe. You get the Vibram Mega Grip, so all the other name brand components for that great price. And then just from like a racing standpoint, I do think just the fashion of the shoe matters. And like we talked about the fuchsia and the orange and the white. I love that combo. And then also this is probably just for a sky running context, but I love the pre-drilled spots. I think you mentioned this in our review episode on the lugs for if you wanted to throw studs in, like if there were inclement conditions or you're running in snow. So yeah, just for all those reasons, I went with the Merrell.
Okay. That kind of seems somewhat like pretty in line with last year's category winner of the Hokazinal 2.
Yeah.
And my winner actually kind of goes somewhat in line with my last year's pick as well. I've got the Norda 002. This surprised me in that this was actually my favorite shoe to run like recklessly fast in on shorter trail things. The upper locks my foot down so well, and I had the right amount of protection and grip with this midsole and outsole combination. Like it's not the lightest, it's not the it doesn't have the zippiest foam, but I am like the fastest version of myself in this shoe. And these races are short enough where I can finish them before my feet melt.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
So, but I picked kind of like a flexible but still protective shoe. Yeah, I think both of mine that I picked for the Golden Trail shoe, 2023 and this year, they're both have a little bit more underfoot than the ones that you picked, just kind of highlighting like the differences in what we need for races like that.
This is a little inside baseball, but speaking of the 002, if they ever make a revamped version of that and they do the same thing with that upper that they did for the 005, where like the stitches are a little bit bigger, it's a little bit better with drainage and breathability, that would be like the perfect. I would easily replace the Merrell with that one.
Yeah. I mean, I know we both have the 005, and I can't wait to record that review, the full review. It's gonna be a very interesting one, and I mean, probably already a shoe that is high likelihood gonna be said in the best of 2025 episode. But let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. Sorry.
So, Merrell, super duper long name. That's longer than the races you run in it. Shoe, and Norda 002, category winners of the Golden Trail shoe. Next one, sticking with the golden theme, but distances are getting a little bit longer. We have our golden ticket race and Western States race shoe. Ooh, Mr. Tecton X3.
I've got the Hoka Tecton X3. I believe that this is the Swiss Army knife racing shoe for 50 miles and up. I tried to use the Sage Candidate quote incorrectly in our review episode. I meant to say any trail surface, any distance. You saw Adam Peterman use this at the more rugged Speed Goat 50K. Ludo wore the 2.5 at Hardrock, similar shoe. I think the reason I chose this for both golden ticket races in Western States is because of all the super shoes out there that we reviewed, like the North Face, the Adidas Agravic Speed Ultra. I think the differentiator with the Hoka Tecton X3 is it is way more comfortable for your foot for longer periods of time. The one concern that I have with this shoe, and I was telling you about this in a review, is I do think there is a lot more bite than I would prefer in this outsole. It's maybe too, I think it could be a little bit too aggressive for states. Like, do you really need 4mm lugs? Even in the high country, I'm not sure. But I do think it's a really complete shoe, and it could render the need to swap shoes at Forest Hill obsolete. Like I would be prepared to wear this from Olympic Valley to the track, in Placer. So, yeah, this is my golden ticket Western States shoe.
So last year you said Nike Ultrafly. This year you said Hoka Tecton X3. So similar type of shoe, just beefed up more, lighter materials, more bounce.
Yep.
2 carbon plates. I said the Nike Zagama because I wasn't in love with the Ultrafly, and that was kind of it so far for the trail super shoes. But just like you, I have also chosen the Hoka Tecton X3 as my golden ticket and Western States shoe. I feel confident that I'd be able to race like pretty much any of the golden ticket races as well as Western States in this shoe. And like you said, choosing a shoe that I feel like if I can't wear this shoe for all of Western States, it can't win this category. And I know I definitely could. And my runner up was the North Face Vective Pro 2.
That would have been mine
kind
too.
of for all the similar reasons, except I just feel a little bit faster in this one, probably due to the 35mm of PIBA underfoot. It's just like insane trampoline. Hardrock / UTMB or Big Mountain Race shoe. So we're looking, like your 100-mile, most of the time, like 40 to 48 hour type cutoffs, a lot of hiking, some big descending. Last year you said Hoka Mafate Speed 4. I said Asics Tribuco Max 2. What do you have this year with a Hardrock UTMB Big Mountain Race shoe of 2024?
So with the caveat that I'm choosing from within the confines of what we reviewed this year, again, I'm going back to the Hoka Tecton X3. I actually, in the context of a lot of these premier 100-mile professional races in the US and abroad, I actually don't really see the need to leave this shoe behind at Hardrock or UTMB. I've run 70% of the 80% of the UTMB course, and I've run about 40% of the Hardrock course. And you can drive a golf cart on both those courses. A lot of it. I
Powerful ass
maintain
golf
that.
cart.
But it's more just to communicate that it's pedestrian. Like even the UTMB course, it's meant to be this all-encompassing, all ability levels hiking trail, and that's Western States too. Like it's so I for all the reasons I said, the Tecton X3 at Western and at Golden Ticket races, I would transfer all that over to Hardrock and UTMB, and maybe even more so because again, like if it's a shoe that you need to be prepared to wear for 18 to 25 hours, going with this, like it is the most comfortable super shoe that I reviewed, built for 50 miles and up, and that applies to those two races.
Okay. I'm gonna say I did not expect to see Tecton X3 come up for that category, but I mean that's a very convincing, fair argument. I can't fault you for that. I went with the Nike Zagama 2. Pretty much everything you said about the Tecton X3 is like it's just like a little bit too much bounce for me, and probably still a little bit more stiffness than I want. So kind of going back to just comfort. Same reason I chose the Trabuco Max 2 last year. I was like, I need the comfort, and I need something that I'm just going to be able to like know for sure that I can tolerate for a very long time. And while I'm pretty sure I could do it in the Tecton X3, I know I'm going to be a little bit safer even in the Zagama 2. So Zagama 2 is back on the board again for me.
Okay, cool. I dig it. I mean, dude, somewhere in Beaverton, Oregon, the Nike Trail Team product team is just like having a ball right now.
Or they're being like, damn it, Brett, why are you not saying Ultrafly?
That's true.
Like all these race categories and Zagama keeps coming up. At least you're picking like the Hoka race shoe over and over. Like they're stoked about that.
No, the Zagama 2 is a great shoe.
Next category, we're going even further in distance. This is a 200 plus mile race shoe. For me, I don't even know, it's like survival shoe. But last year, I liked it. Last year, you said the New Balance Fresh Foam More Trail V3, which we never reviewed. And I have no idea how much you actually ran in it, but you thought that was going to be your Cocodona shoe just because of how soft it ended up. It was.
Yeah,
and
dude,
I said Speedland GS Tam.
Dude, that New Balance shoe was the Rabbit Dream Tracer of trail. It was amazing.
Pretty much. But you ended up going Zagama 2 this year at Cocodona, which was, I mean, I'm sure that was a surprise to both of us because you only got the shoe like a week before the race. And that's like the cardinal sin. But I mean, that goes to show.
Yeah. And this is where I went. But I'm going to say two things. Before I show you the shoe, I was debating heavily, and this is going to be a crazy range, but I also was thinking about the North Face Alta Mesa 500 and the Ultra Mount Blanc Carbon, and I'll tell you why in a second. But Nike Zagama 2.
Nike Zagama 2 for me as well. I knew you were saying Zagama 2.
Yeah.
No, I'm just going to throw my winner up there as well.
So for me, the equation or the question that you have to ask and answer for a 200 plus mile shoe is pretty simple. What is a shoe that fits you well, that you wouldn't mind wearing over multiple days? What is the shoe that you would want to wear at Cocodona 60 to 70 hours straight? For me, it's the Zagama 2, fairly wide in the forefoot, still a little bit lower volume than an Ultra or a Topo. The upper, it's definitely like a luxury upper, massive comfort points. More so that than performance oriented, but still varying density mesh on the upper for the win. Shoe runs pretty smooth, longer rocker than V1. So, less of your foot is touching the ground. I think that kind of factoring of like your transition from heel to midfoot, or sorry, midfoot to heel, midfoot to toe or heel to toe is better. That stuff matters still in a race like Cocodona where people are now running 4 to 5 miles an hour for the duration. And then, we talked about the midsole earlier with sort of our Swiss Army knife, and it just works at a spectrum of paces. So when you want to turn on, you turn on. When you want to turn off, you turn off. The reason I was considering the Mount Blanc Carbon is for the same reason we talked about the Zoom X Core and then the EVA carrier foam. Ultra does the same thing with the Ego foam as well, and I'm
Mhm.
blanking on the two
One of
differentiated
them's
names.
Pro, one of them's Max, and I don't know which is which.
Yeah, and
They
so I
both
think
sound good, but
there's a similar value proposition there. And then, I mean, that was probably like actually more so than the Hoka Tecton X3. That was a super comfortable shoe to wear.
so comfortable, just way too expensive.
Way too expensive. But again, like comfort is king at the 200-mile
Yeah.
distance. And that actually could have been like a sneaky 200 plus mile super shoe. I mean, Jeff Browning was wearing it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And like we see the Olympus out there. I think it's probably the most popular shoe out
Yeah.
of Cocodona. And so it's like, well, then it makes sense that another Ultra that's high cushion could also work. It's funny that you said Alta Mesa 500 because I have written down Nike Zagama 2, runner up, Alta Mesa 500. and that's because they're basically the same shoe.
Yeah.
Just slightly different materials like full Dream foam, Zoom X carrier foam, long rocker. I just like the Nike upper a little bit better, but yeah, I mean, you're totally right. It's like what shoes, they're both smooth shoes that your foot doesn't have to work very much in.
Yeah. By the way, we there was no collusion here. We did not.
No, we did not talk at all about this beforehand. And I feel like last year we didn't have a single overlapping category.
No.
New category, because we got so much positive feedback in some of our reviews where we were talking about, this was a fine trail running shoe, but I found that this would actually be a shoe that I would love for like a long trail through hike type shoe, because everyone's wearing trail shoes on these long trails. So I put the long trail category of the shoes that we reviewed this year. What would you be taking on any of your long trail attempts?
I know for a fact that we don't have the same answer because I know you didn't really like this shoe. But I've got the normal Tomir 2.0. Little known fact, I actually did 17 miles in this shoe at Cocodona. It is a trail tank, as we said in the title of our review episode, Swiss Army knife as well as the Zagama. I could have gone the Zagama 2 here as well, but this is definitely through hike eligible. I would say I went with it over the Zagama because I do think it has more durability. Like we could be talking in a through hiking context, 750 to 1,000 miles. Midsole is fantastic. I have it. Is it X Pure? Is that the foam?
Yeah, normal? I think that's right. That sounds correct.
But it's like a thicker X Pure than the V1. Great outsole. I think the amount of, and again, when I'm thinking about a through hiking shoe, I do want some responsiveness, but not like the dangerous, crazy racing kind. And it's also extremely durable. Like I think this foam is going to last a while. They also widened the platform since the V1, so there's more stability. Yep. And then, again, like maybe the most important thing is the durability. I think you could do like the Appalachian Trail in 2 pairs of this shoe, which you cannot. You certainly cannot say about most shoes. Yeah, it is saying something.
Yeah. I definitely did not choose the Tomir 2, but I did choose an all black shoe. I got the North Face Off Trail TR, which was our most recent review. As soon as I started wearing this, I was like, dude, this would be my through hike shoe because I found it supremely comfortable. We got this absolutely bulletproof matrix 4-foot overlasted design protecting that midsole foam. So much outsole rubber, very grippy, roomier 4-foot than I thought, but still a nice secure lockdown. Drainage is going to be decent because it's got at least half matrix. Pretty traditional EVA, which is going to be a nice amount of responsiveness for just long days hiking. North Face Off Trail TR, that's my long trail shoe.
Can I throw in an honorable mention?
Yeah, sure.
I think this might be out of scope because it was 23, but I also think Nordas are a great budget through hiking shoe too, especially the one model. I think similar to the Tomir 2, you could do the AT, maybe even the PCT in 2 pairs. I just had some issues with it with the heel, but I could see that shoe working.
Yeah, and I've had people in the comments of the 001 review shoe saying that they bought like felt heel pads that you can find for like stick in the back of like women's heels. Throw that there, totally solved the problem, good to go. So that if that's a through hiker fix if I ever heard of one.
Yeah, for sure.
This category was one of my favorite ones last year. The most fashionable shoe coming from unfashionable people. So this is the one that has nothing to do with running and everything to do with looks. Last year, you said the Nike Kiger 9 was your favorite looking shoe because of its like strange color combinations for the pair that you had. I said On Cloud Ultra 2 because I just liked the sleek.
You love On.
The styling. Yeah. I'm a sucker for On styling. What is your
AKA
most
OC.
fashion? The OC, the On Clouds. What's your most fashionable shoe coming from an unfashionable person?
So I need your help holding one because I had a tie for first. If you could grab the Norda O2s alongside the Merrell Long Sky 2s. I just love this fuchsia. What is it, like
These
the
are
orange
very
and the
different
white.
looking
They're very-
shoes.
So I do like to let my freak flag fly, but the core of my personality are these like understated, muted grays, blacks, and whites. And I love that Normal and Norda go that route. You know, like they're just letting the technology and just like the sleekness do the talking.
Yeah, you're right. This does actually go pretty good with the conversational pace crew neck sweater.
Really good. You're putting it
There
up
are
right
still
now.
a few left of those in the conversational pace store. I think all the rest of the merch is sold out, but there's a few crew necks left.
I was going to say, if you're watching on YouTube, but everyone watches on YouTube, that sweatshirt, the CP sweatshirt with the Norda 2 looks like,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's good.
You are fashionable. It's dialed.
Man, how many years away are we from a CP Norda collab shoe? Oof.
Closer than at the current rate, closer than we think.
Gosh, what number would it be? They got to skip 007 for copyright issues. They said they would have to pay. They'd have to pay entirely too much money for.
Really? Oh, because of 007. Because of 007.
Yeah.
Oh man, I didn't even thought of that.
Yeah, so there can be a 006 and there can be a 009.
What if it was like 00, not zeros, but like the letter O?
I'm sure Mr. Bond would have something to say about that. So my most fashionable shoe coming from an unfashionable person. I picked the Norda 001.
Yeah. Well, that's the Ray Zahab version right there.
Yeah, I thought this was sweet with like it's got like almost like a like splashing water type overlay with just like the couple different colors of blue on the matrix. It's cool looking shoe, but there's going to be some people in the comments who are like, dude, this shoe's 3 years old. You can't, a shoe that came out in 2021 can't be winning 2024 awards. And if that is the case and the Norda 001 is disqualified, even though this is our show, we get to make the rules. But if that's the case, just to piss people off more than I'm going to give it to the On Cloud Vista 2. Because again, I think On's use of the materials, their color palette, the like the subtle light purple like underlay material that's underneath here, like they thought about exactly like what color is going to be on every piece of shoe. And it's so hard to get the laces to perfectly match like the material on the insole or the ankle collar, because those are 3 different types of fabric. Those colors are absolutely spot on. So whole lot of reasons for why On should also win this category. So that's what I've got for the most fashionable shoe 2024 coming from an unfashionable person.
I love that segment.
This is a fun one. Most surprising shoe of 2024. Last year, your surprise shoe was the Speedland GS Tam, and mine was the Asics Tribuco Max 2.
Yep. Okay. So this is the one shoe that I don't have on me. It's in my garage closet somewhere, but it is the Rabbit Dream Chaser. And it's surprising because far and away, this was the most comfortable foam that we stepped into, in my opinion, by a long shot. It's that ETPU midsole, which I think stands for Expanded Thermal Polyurethane. I had to write that down. I believe Adidas Boost used this. Pretty bouncy, durable, heavy, typically, but this one's pretty soft. It's one of the softer shoes that we've run in, but also pretty good rebound. I said earlier, it reminded me of the New Balance V More. Endless cushion type shoe. Again, or at least we shouldn't be doing many pavement miles here at Conversational Pace, but You said in our review that it basically removed the cons of running on pavement because it absorbs so much shock.
It just negates the pavement shock.
And yeah, like it's basically like an even more plush Hoka Bondi, but maybe even more durable. So for that reason, and again, also because it was Rabbit's debut shoe, I'm throwing Rabbit there.
Yeah, and they're debuting their first trail shoe in 2025. I think that's coming out in July 2025. So hopefully we get a chance to review that one. Sorry, Finn, they did not call it the Peak Chaser.
Which they should have.
Should have, yeah. So missed opportunity there already, but hopefully we still get the opportunity to review that one. My biggest surprise of 2024, even though it had such high expectations, Hoka Tecton X3. Like, we saw it at TRE and won. I mean, that was at the end of 2023, but it was to be a 2024 release. And I think it was just such a shock that what seemed like this Jim Walmsley custom, like UTMB shoe, was actually going to get thrown into production. And then, just to know all the specs, but then to try it on and for it to feel, at least for me, it felt even better than I thought, just with the way that they did the PIBA underneath and, the way it fits my foot. It exceeded all expectations that I had. So even though I was expecting great things from this shoe, I would still give this one like the biggest, most surprising shoe of 2024 for me.
Right on.
Okay, as we're getting to our last few categories, this is kind of like our, I don't know, the category, which is the straight up favorite trail shoe of 2024. You get to take this in any direction you want, because it's just like, what shoe did you like, the most this year? Last year, oh, there it is. There's the Mud Claw 5000.
I load too early. I had to throw it up. The Nike Zagama 2. Honestly, I'm not going to add any more than what I already said spec wise, but for me, again, like if trail running shoe Armageddon happened tomorrow and everything burned down, but like God or whoever, whatever higher power up there said you could keep one shoe because it would fit in as many environments as possible, I'd say, just God, give me the Zagama 2.
Give me the Zagama.
Give me the Zagama 2. I'll find a way in any environment. Yeah,
Still, I mean, it's funny that the shoe that got so much long trail recognition is called the Zagama.
Yeah, so I would say the Zagama 2 for me. It's like it will, if you are budget conscious or you really just are, it's only in your capacity to buy one shoe for 2024. This was the shoe that would. There's a reason why I said Swiss Army knife earlier. Like it lines up in just so many contexts. So
for sure. Last year you said Speedland GS Tam. So I feel like those are actually they're pretty similar shoes.
They are. Oh yeah.
So last year, so I've swung quite a bit. Last year I said the normal Chirac because it was just such a surprisingly fun shoe. And like I'd never run in a shoe so light, so flexible, that still had so much protection. This year, though, my straight up favorite trail shoe of 2024, as I'm sure you expect, is the Hoka Tecton X3. Yeah, just so much bounce, great protection, awesome outsole. I love this upper. I really like the ankle gaiter. So this was my favorite shoe of 2024. My runner up was the Zagama 2.
Okay, cool.
So looking ahead, last year we did a category that was your way too early pick for 2025. And way too early pick for 2024. This year's for 2025. Last year you said in 2024, be on the lookout for the Hoka Tecton X3. I think it's going to be an awesome shoe. So good call. And you also said North Face shoes will be great in 2024. And, I feel like they really delivered with the Vector Pro 2, the Alta Mesa, the Off Trail. They had a very complete lineup. I said, I think the La Sportiva Prodigio is going to be awesome. And that thing just royally effed my ankle up. And I
love the Prodigio. I thought the Prodigio was a great shoe.
So that was a bummer that I got that one so horribly wrong for myself, because that just shows how high my expectations were for the Prodigio. I also said that the mid-tier shoes in 2024 will be incredibly good, and it'd be hard to justify spending $200+ on a trail shoe. I think that the mid-tier shoes were really good in 2024, but I also had it's somewhat easy time justifying $200+ on a trail shoe. Like the Agravic Speed Ultra and the Tecton X3 and the Vective Pro 2, I think are all awesome.
Yeah.
And if anything, like the trail super shoes that came out in 2024 were better than I thought they would be.
Wouldn't you say that the Zagama 2 is like the ultimate mid-tier shoe?
I would say so.
Yeah. I
Like
think that was a spot-on prediction.
That, the Ultimesa 500, Solomon Genesis, like
Yep.
there were some great mid-tier shoes for sure. What about for 2025, Finn? What's your way too early pick?
So everything that I'm saying here hasn't already been discussed on like early release YouTube videos, including from Conversational Pace. But for me, I think it's to be on the lookout for the La Sportiva Prodigio Pro and the Norda 005. Because I think they're both going to be fantastic shoes, but also because they take a new twist on what it means to be a trail super shoe. I did a long run in the 5 this past weekend and took down some notes, and just like, again, stupid light. It's got that TPEE midsole. So I think the value prop there is you're going to get the energy return, but it's also going to work for you over multiple races, which you cannot say the same for every single super shoe out there. Also enough foam though for enough rock protection. I think my only concern with it is the Tetris lug pattern. I'm not sure it provides the best traction in like slippery conditions, but you know, we've seen people, Jason Schlarb ran Hardrock in it, and he seemed to sign off on it. I love that the upper is this new Dyneema blend where you can play with the stitching a bit, and they're using less material, so it's more flexible, it's more breathable, it drains well. That was a big concern for me in the earlier versions of their Dyneema uppers. I think this shoe this shoe and also the Prodigio Pro are gonna be head turners in 25, and there's going to be this big debate about plate or no plate, and we're seeing shoes that are super without the carbon plate. So it's going to be very interesting to see kind of how this war is solved.
Dude, I love that. That's so good. So last year I got burned by the Prodigio on my way too early pick. So I'm doubling down. I also said be on the lookout for the Prodigio Pro as one of the surprise home runs of 2025. I guess, spoiler alert, we already have the shoes in hand. So we've already run in it and know. We haven't put, I haven't put 100 miles on them yet. I know you might be close, but we kind of already know that it's a pretty fun shoe. But to kind of piggyback off of what you said, I also wrote down that 2025 is going to be the year of the trail super shoe split. So
the forking.
We're going to have, yes, the fork and the plate. We're going to have our plated trail super shoes, and we are going to have our non-plated trail super shoes. I feel like last year, all plated and not really anything that was considered a trail super shoe that was non-plated. But like for 2025, right now, like I already know the Prodigio Pro, the Norda 005, and the normal Shrek 2 are going to be, I think, some of the 3 heavy hitters for the non-plated trail super shoe category, which, I don't think that the 2 like plated, non-plated are really going to overlap much, because where like I would, race some races in the Tecton X3, but I'm going to do other races in the Prodigio Pro. I don't see, they have like maybe a slight overlap on the Venn diagram, but, I think it's really ultimately going to open up a lot of really fast options for those who just have not clicked with the carbon plated trail shoes or are running in more aggressive terrain where a carbon plated trail shoe just doesn't make sense. But now you're going to be able to get the super foam, the lightweight uppers, all the fancy stuff, just without the plates. So
100%.
That's my too early pick for 2025. A new category. I got this is the last category, and then just we're gonna end with a question.
Yeah.
That I've got. With what all the brands are producing as of the end of 2024, from a pure footwear standpoint, Finn, which brand is the easiest for you to be sponsored by? So we're thinking like all of your training that you do, all your racing. who is your sponsor then for 2024 based off of what they had?
I'm going with Norda. I like where they're headed.
Really?
Each model has been an improvement and focused on a fairly specific, narrow use case. And we haven't even talked about the most stylistic approach shoe in the game. Which is
Wait, you're picking Norda. You're picking Norda even without the 005 in the lineup?
No, I'm picking it with the 005.
Okay, because that doesn't come out till March, so I don't know if that. I think if you're picking, I think it has to be in 2024.
In 24.
Yeah.
Well, come back to me. I'm going to think while you go.
Yeah, I don't think if you're going to pick Norda, then you're doing it with 001, 002, and 003. Which 003 is a sweet shoe, definitely underdog of the year with the laceless.
And they built an approach shoe, which is super. Like it's so yeah.
I mean, and then, I don't know about what you're approaching. I'm approaching like the grocery store in that shoe. Like I'm approaching the TSA at the airport in that shoe. That's the only things I'm approaching in that shoe.
I'm in my bathrobe taking the trash out to the belt for the garage people to, oh my gosh. Yeah.
Those are that's what I'm approaching in that shoe. I can give you mine.
Yeah.
Of what was produced in 2024 from a footwear standpoint, I'm picking Hoka to be the sponsor one. And like it's pretend. I mean, maybe it's a boring answer, but like they have a very complete road lineup. Like they have easy mileage road shoes, great race shoe. I know you like that Rocket X2.
Yeah.
They've got, and while they did wreck a couple trail shoes this year, like the Speed Goat, they still had Mafate Speed 4. They still had Zenal 2. And then they introduced Tecton X3. So like even on the trail, it's still pretty much covered all the boxes. I probably would end up spending most of my time in the Challenger and then throwing the Tecton X3 for, long runs or races. So yeah, I mean, kind of a boring answer, but I think I'm picking Hoka.
No, this is not a cop out. I would probably agree with Hoka, and I like that you brought in the road catalog too, because I do think that that's important. And even if you are a trail runner, it's still a thing. I think present-minded Hoka, future-focused Norda. And one thing I'll add about the Norda piece, because I really do want to communicate this. You look at someone like Jason Schlarb, who is I think he's the athlete manager for Norda now. I told this to him when we had him on the Single Track podcast, how directionally correct in kind of magic 8-balled he appears to be, because he has been with every single upstart brand since 2010 at almost the perfect time. He was with Hoka from like 2010 to 14, Ultra from 15 to 20. And I think he's now been with Norda the last 2 or 3 years riding this rocket ship. And I think that of this whole like category of brands,
Schlarb's actually this like hedge fund billionaire.
I know. But I think like you think about which dog is going to emerge from this like post 2020 shoe brand cohort of like Speedland, Normal, Norda, etc. And I think it's going to be Norda.
That's a very astute observation about Jason Schlarb. I like that.
He's been there at all the moments.
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, like I met Nico on a beach somewhere, and he said, I'm thinking about making some shoes that, really protect your feet when you're running, kind of like when you're snowboarding or skiing. And he's like, I'd like to try those.
Yeah, that was a great, for anyone who hasn't listened to the Jason Schlarb interview on the Single Track podcast, go get in that listen on your next long run, because that was a good one. Okay, very last question before we sign off. Did trail shoes actually get any better in 2024? Versus 23?
Well, I think I'm going to steal your answer. I think you said it perfectly. I think you have to take a bottoms up view of this. And your kind of question was, did the mid tier get better? And the mid tier absolutely got better. And so did the Point of the Spear. Like this was the first year that we had multiple brands put out pretty credible quote unquote super shoes. But then also like you and I have been raving about the Nike Zagama 2 and the Alta Mesa 500. I loved the Tomir 2. Absolutely. I think like if I am looking at my 2024 quiver versus 23 quiver, if I can't go 24, I am at a competitive mechanical disadvantage.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think 2024, hands down, better shoes overall than 2023. I'm very curious to revisit this next year and see if 2025 as a whole was better than 24, because I think 2024 was a very good year. We had said it in a previous episode. Was 2024 the year of the trail super shoe, like how 2016 was for the year of the Nike Vaporfly? Like we're like at least one company figured it out on this year, and it changed the trajectory of at least race shoes as we know. It was 2024 that year for
Yeah,
trail, and then like the next 3-4 years are just going to be slight refinements. Or
exactly.
are we still, is there still like mind-blowing tech and dimensions in trail that have yet to be uncovered that we'll see in like the next 1 to 2 years?
Yeah, there's a Paul Graham quote. It says, "The future is here. It's just not evenly distributed yet." And I felt like 2024 was the future is here year. And every year, every subsequent year is just going to be like a mainstreaming of what was available. But maybe it could be a 2024-5 blend, because I do think what we see coming down the pipe from Normal and La Sportiva and Norda will throw a fork in things.
Yep. It's going to be very interesting. One thing I do know is that 2024 was a very fun year of running.
That was awesome.
You reviewing. Thank you so much, Finn. Look forward to many miles in 2025. I cannot wait to win and set a new course record at the Twisted Fork 68K. That is my A race on the calendar. I have nothing past that from a racing standpoint. So like I'm putting all my eggs in the Twisted Fork basket, and we'll have to hop on a call later, figure out what shoes I should be wearing, because I need that insider info.